let me guess, you just found out about this awesome tool called Tana, and now you want to understand how it works. And I'm here to help you because I'm going to show you how Tana is different from other note-taking apps and what are the main mindsets and features that you need to understand about Tana to start using it and make the most out of it. Hello and welcome. My name is Fees, and today I will be walking you through how Tana works. This is going to be a simple demo and a video showing you around Tana. And this, where we are, this is the today node, or like the daily scratch pad. So each day you get a new node for the day. And this is where you usually work on, where you create your objects and where you do things inside Tana. So I'm gonna walk you through this step by step so you don't have to figure it out all alone. So let's go. First thing to mention about how Tana works is that it's an outliner. So an outliner works with bullet points. And more than that, it uses indentation of bullet points. So this is kind of a bullet point that's indented beneath the other ones. So I can move it around as you've seen, and I can bring it back where it was. And if I press the tab, it's going to indent it one step further. And it's called an outliner because it's the principle behind an outline. So if you were to outline a book, that's how you would do it. And so this is kind of the basic of what is an outliner. And more than that, in Tana, every page is a node, and every node is also a page. So if I click this takes me into a new page, which is a node. And this next one is a node, and it's also a page. So it's fractal because it's a pattern that repeats itself. So you can move up in this hierarchy, as you would say. But the thing is, there is no hierarchy because Tana is a graph-based app. So a graph is different from a hierarchy in its data structure. So graph is this data structure. It comes from information science, and it's used to model and map networks and relationships. So a good thing to understand this is an image. So I'm going to show you briefly this image. So this is a graph, and these balls or like pentagons in this triangle, these are nodes, and the lines that connect them, those are the edges or the links. And this is how Tana works in a way. So like you have lots of nodes and they're connected to one another in the way that you can kind of navigate from one to another. So I am in this page called Today, Friday, April 14th. And it also has lots of nodes inside. So whenever I click a node, it's kind of a link where I can navigate from one place to another. And yeah, so like this is kind of the mathematical definition of a graph. So it's a G, it's the how you would describe it. V are the vertices, or like all of the sets of vertices, which are the nodes. And E is the set of edges or links. So in Tana, we're dealing mainly with nodes. This is the important thing to keep in mind here in Tana. And the next thing that I want to explain is what brings the magic to the table, and it's the super tags. So you might be familiar with the super tags already. And the idea here is that the super tags transform nodes into super nodes. And to understand this, I think a good way to look at this is to see that super tag is basically a super aspect of it plus the actual tag. So if we look at the tag, simply put, it's just a label. So tag applies this is a relation to a node. So for example, a node X is an instance of a class Y, for example. Now, a tangible example for you, Fees Fraga, which is me, is a person. So I belong to the class of people or persons. In Tana, this is how this would work. So there's this node called Fees Fraga, and I have added a super tag to it. which in this case, I'm just showing the tag aspect, which is a person. So I'm basically showing that Fis Fraga is a person and this node represents me. So this is, I'm sorry for my big head here, but the tags indicate that these nodes, they belong to this category. It's literally just like a label, like you would add a label to a box, like here, all your toys. So it's kind of the same principle. Now it's where things get interesting. So this is the super part. The super part is related to the super tags, and specifically they are customizable templates. I think after how much time, it's like 4 months using Tana, this is kind of the best phrasing that I found, and it's that super tags are customizable templates. So you can create a custom data structure for any super tag. So in this case, a person, which is the one we're modeling here, a person has specific characteristics that are unique to each person. For example, a full name or an email address and the date of birth. And if I were to model another thing which is not a person, so for example, a fruit, we'll get there later, I would have other characteristics because fruits don't have email addresses. So what Tana enables us to do is we can create a custom template for each category that we're dealing with. So for people, for person, these are a set of attributes that I could use. But of course, there are many other examples. And the nice thing happens when you add a super tag to a node. This makes it become an object. And I think we can deal with it as if it's a knowledge object, because it doesn't need to be like a tangible object. You can deal with abstract things as well. So what happens is when you add a super tag to a node, this is going to happen just now. The node inherits the custom data structure that you've set to that super tag. This is an example so that you understand. So if I'm dealing with a person, the data structure that I chose is a full name, an email address, and date of birth. So when I add this tag to a person, it basically lets the super tag brings those fields, and this is what they're called, brings the fields to the node. So I'm gonna add this live right now, person. So when I add this tag, it brings in the fields associated with the tag. So this is why it's a template, because it's a predefined structure that once you add it to a node, it brings in the structure with it. And the similar example with a fruit is a set of characteristics that are unique to fruits, for example, which would be like the color or the approximate calories, or if I like it or not. So if I remove the super tag, you can see that the fields, they disappear because they are associated with the super tag. So again, if I add the super tag fruit, this new fruit now has the chance for me to fill in the information, the data about this fruit. Now this is pretty interesting, and I think you only assimilate and you understand like the power of this when you start working and thinking about your own use cases. So then of course you can fill in data for an object. So for example, my name is Felipe Poggi de Aragão Fraga. My email address is over here. I can put my date of birth, and the same goes for an apple. I can write its color, approximate calories, and I Google it. You can see it's similar, and I do like apples, so like I can add this here. And like what I want to show here is that there is a difference between modeling different data types. So a person is one data type and a fruit is another one. And they, of course, have different characteristics, and we are studying different aspects of each of these two. And this is what Tana enables. It enables you to bring a custom structure to anything that you're dealing with. And this is fantastic. Now, enough of super tags for now. Now, let's go into the next step. And it's where things get most interesting in my opinion. It's like one of the best things about Tana, and it is the live queries. So knowledge management has 4 processes, and this is a paper by Alavi and Leitner from 2001, so it's more than 20 years old, and they put together probably like 20, 30, 40 different processes about knowledge management. So it was directed at enterprise knowledge management, and they distilled it into these 4 processes, which is the creation of knowledge, storage and retrieval, so this is together because it's very related, the transfer of knowledge, and the application of knowledge. So these are kind of summary of what happens with knowledge when we're working with knowledge, when we're dealing with it in a day-to-day basis. And the thing is, retrieval is usually the hardest part, because you can create knowledge, like you can capture it from other sources, or you can create it from your mind. You can store it usually with some ease, but the hard thing is knowing where it is and retrieving it in the right moment whenever you're working on what you need. Because this step is kind of the bottleneck, because once you retrieve that knowledge, you can then transfer it to somewhere else or someone else. You can apply it, you can express it, you can sell it, you can create a new habit, anything. So retrieval is the hard part. And this is where Tana is very good, because this is where the magic happens, and it uses the live queries. So the live query is a simple and powerful way to retrieve those objects. And you basically create a search for any object. So we're dealing now with fruits and persons. So you can find any 2 of these objects and even fill in a certain criteria that you want these objects to kind of conform to. And I'm going to jump into some very simple examples so that we're all on the same page. Now I have 2 live searches here, and you can know that they're a live search because they have this magnifying glass symbol here in the bullet point. So instead of showing a clean bullet point, it has a little magnifying glass, and this shows it's a search. Now, if I want to look at all of the person tags that I have, it's a search that basically shows all of the nodes tagged with the person super tag anywhere in my graph. And this is simple right now, but the implications of this are pretty big, because you can create nodes anywhere. So you don't need to create a node inside the project or inside the place where you want to store it. You can create it wherever, and then you use a live query to bring that, to retrieve all of the information that's related to that which you are interested in. Now, the next example is the fruits. So here I have all of the nodes tagged with fruit. So there was the new fruit, which is empty, as you can see. It was the example that I used. And then there's the apple and the banana. So I've created these in different places, and they're now all collected in the same place. Now, if we want to look at the structure of a query, and it's quite simple, so I'm just going to open it here right now. We are basically defining what do we want. So here there's this search expression, and I'm probably going to do more videos explaining this, but for now, the thing is you want to identify what super tag you want. So for example, fruit. Whenever I add this super tag to the search expression, I'm going to receive all of the fruits or all of the nodes which have the tag of fruit in this search. And I can add more complexity here, but this is something for another moment. Now let's collapse this and go to this final segment just to wrap things up and come back to where we started. And this is the today note. And this is mindset. This is a fantastic mindset to work with. And the idea here is every day you get a new node which has the date and corresponds to, of course, the day that you're in. And this is the perfect place to work in, because you can create objects inside the Today node, and you can literally work and take notes and take meeting notes or read a book, anything inside this node, because with the live queries, you can retrieve things wherever you want. You just need to add a tag. So if you add a tag to something that you're working inside the Today node, you will be able to find it later with a live query. And this goes full circle, because now we've mentioned that there are nodes and you can add the node to a certain category, which is the idea of a super tag. And when you do this, you can customize those fields, so you can add specific information to that node, and then you can find it anywhere that you put a live query. So the idea here is that everything is connected, because you work in the Today node, you create your objects over here, and then you can find them in other places. Now, this is a quick demonstration of the mindsets of how Tana works, of what's involved in this process, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you now understand Tana better, that you get an idea of what's possible, and some tangible, simple examples to wrap your head around things that may be going on inside a seemingly complex tool, which is Tana, because it can be complex, but it can also be very simple. It's very customizable, and I think the word that best describes Tana for me is flexibility, because it's so flexible. You can do anything that you want, and it provides you with the structure to do it, because the structure in Tana is flexible. It is meant for you to change it and mold it exactly to your needs. So hope you enjoyed this video. Have a nice day and see you around.
Infinity.